You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, I decided to put these two quarterbacks together, these two subjects together, because, well, when I've sat back, now that the Aaron Rodgers Steelers saga has come to a completed situation, that closes the door on Kirk Cousins to the Steelers. Outside of another injury or something like that. And so I got to thinking, I was like, is there really any other place for Kirk Cousins these days? And the reason I bring this up is because he's now back in the news. He's headed to the Atlanta Falcons minicamp, and this news just came out. Quarterback Kirk Cousins is expected to attend the Atlanta Falcons mandatory minicamp beginning on Tuesday. League sources told The Athletic. Cousins' minicamp attendance is notable because the soon-to-be 37-year-old quarterback's future remains in limbo. For now, the Falcons have Cousins penciled in as their backup to starting quarterback Michael Penix Jr., whom they selected with the first-round draft pick last year. However, Cousins would prefer to be traded to a team where he could start. So, that has a little correlation to what we're going to talk about now. Guys, of course, Jim Irsay passed away a couple of weeks ago. Carly Irsay-Gordon will succeed her father as a team's chief executive officer. That means that Irsay-Gordon will be serving as the principal owner of the team. You may be like, well, why are you bringing this up with Kirk Cousins? Well, because you see this headline, new Colts owner will have to make decisions about Anthony Richardson. Let's be honest, they were going to make decisions about him anyway, and I think they had already had. They gave $14 million to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is basically the starting quarterback and was before Jim Irsay passed away. All right? I heard on a podcast the other day that when Anthony Richardson essentially tapped out on the team during a game, during a drive, got too tired, whatever, I heard the other day that the Colts were pretty much done with him right there, outside of some miracle, attitude adjustment, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. He lost some people over that. So the Colts announced on Monday a new ownership structure with the three daughters of Jim Irsay taking control of the team. They'll have important decisions to make sooner than later about quarterback Anthony Richardson. Richardson, whose shoulder injury would keep him out of action until, quote, at some point during training camp, now faces a steep uphill battle to win the open quarterback competition with Daniel Jones. By the way, that same podcast I was listening to said something to the effect of, this shoulder injury is dating back to something related to 2023? In that shoulder situation? This is not good, folks. If I had to wager, Anthony Richardson's like 2 years from not being in the NFL any longer. Because he can't make, elementary kind of throws, slam dunk kind of throws out there. And that's a major problem, regardless of athleticism. And even if Richardson, the fourth pick in the 2023 draft, returns with a vengeance and overcomes Jones to earn the Week 1 job, Richardson's injury history could work against him. If it's a close call, the folks in football operations may be looking to ownership for input on whether not to go with Richardson or Jones. If Jones ends up being benched, the next question would, of course, would they trade him before the 2025 deadline? The reason I bring that up is, the one destination we have not talked about, and let me just bring this back up, that we have not talked about, in case you're wondering, Daniel Jones, by the way, last year, 2,000 yards, basically 2,100 yards, 8 passing touchdowns. He added another 2 rushing touchdowns. Of course, he ended up losing his job and then, of course, ended up with the Vikings. Now, Kevin O'Connell really liked him, and they wanted to keep him, but he knew he had an opportunity to maybe start somewhere, so that's obviously what he was looking at. And there's a lot of people that believe there's a Sam Darnold, Geno Smith kind of potential story. The one that I don't bring up a lot, being a Niners fan, Alex Smith. I mean, people forget Alex Smith was considered a bust, an all-time bust, until whatever year it was Jim Harbaugh showed up, basically like his 7th year, before it was like, whoa, Alex Smith can not only play, but Alex Smith turned himself into a good professional starting quarterback. It took the right coaching, Jim Harbaugh and then Andy Reid, right? And then, of course, unfortunately, broke his leg when he got to the Redskins. Anyway, nonetheless, the reason I bring all this up and Kirk Cousins is we have not talked about the idea that Kirk Cousins, the one team I will think about and do want to talk about is the Colts. That kind of makes some sense. Now, this is PFF's grades for last year. Kirk Cousins was graded out as the 23rd quarterback in the league. Daniel Jones, the 25th. Anthony Richardson, the 35th. All right? But, and of course, the big issue with Kirk Cousins is age. You know, that's the big issue. If he had a rocket cannon like Aaron Rodgers, there'd be teams beating down the door to try to get Kirk Cousins. But I think there's real concern about, is Kirk Cousins experiencing the Matt Ryan drive off a cliff in your career where all of a sudden you can't throw the ball anymore? Cam Newton being the other one, right? Where all of a sudden, and Cam had a cannon, but there was some, like, he had taken so many hits and this and that and the other, he couldn't throw the ball anymore. If anybody remembers that Patriots Cam Newton, it was awful. It was really bad. He literally couldn't throw the ball at the end. But nonetheless, my point is, I mean, Kirk Cousins and the Colts kind of make some sense. Like, and maybe it would be more of a next year kind of situation. If they draft a quarterback, they could maybe bring Kirk Cousins in. The problem is there's a huge salary there, but they're not paying a lot for quarterback now. And also, they're playing in that Lucas Oil Stadium. You know, they're AFC South opponents. It would be some warmer weather, Houston, Jacksonville, those kind of games. Something that Kirk Cousins might be able to do there. So it's the one team that I look at outside of the Vikings. If something was to set back with J.J. McCarthy, now that Aaron Rodgers is off the market, I think they would look exactly at Kirk Cousins, of bringing him back to Minnesota. But the Colts is interesting. Now, they tried the Matt Ryan thing. Didn't really work out. He looked old. I think the Colts thought they had a 3 to 5 year solution with Matt Ryan. And I kind of thought so too, but he fell off that cliff. I don't know if that would keep the Colts from looking at a Kirk Cousins, because I think, provided Kirk Cousins is literally not off the age cliff, I think there's 2 to 3 years there. You know? And maybe you could get him for 2 years as a starter, and the third year could be a backup situation. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. A lot, him going to minicamp is going to reveal a lot. It may also reveal something to him, too. If he gets to minicamp and he's not throwing the ball well, Kirk Cousins might decide to walk away. That's interesting. Tell me what you think. And one thing's apparent, Anthony Richardson, borrowed time in Indianapolis. Borrowed time in the NFL. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.